Good morning, beloveds. It's hot out there today, but there's a nice breeze going. So, if you're going to do anything in this area, I would suggest that you get out early because the feels like it's apparently going to be 105 today. Rita, come here, baby. I was going to see if I could get Rita to come in, and she pretty much just turned around and walked away. So never mind. All right. So it is July. We are in the month of freedom, and he really made me work for it yesterday. So we're going to see if I have to work as hard today as I did yesterday. Let me see. I am strong with the power of God. And our Bible quote is, "Let every soul be subject unto the highest powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God." That's from Romans 13:1. I kind of want to see the context of that one, but that's just me. So, let's see. Let's see what he has to say. The Bible tells us that the powers that be are ordained of God. And since God exists everywhere, the power of God is wherever we recognize it. Not only all the presence, but all the power. We have no power of ourselves, as if we were separate entities. Therefore, we say with the psalmist that our strength cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. What we really do is use a power greater than ourselves, which power is our strength, but we are not that power. Maybe let me try that line again. His punctuation's a little weird. Okay. What we really do is use a power greater than ourselves, which power is our strength, but we are not that power. Of ourselves we can do nothing, nor of ourselves do we even hold our bodies in place. Rather, we rely on the power of gravitational force that operates upon us. In just such a manner, we are operated upon by the spiritual powers that become our strength when we use them. It is in this sense that we are strong with the power of God, the only power there is. My strength cometh from the Lord who hath made heaven and earth. Recognizing this strength, recognizing the strength, which is perfect, complete, and ever present with me, I have implicit trust and confidence, not only in its availability right where I am, but in its action in and through everything I'm doing. There is a power behind my every thought and word. There is a power upholding and sustaining me in everything I do. There is a power going before me and preparing my way. I rest in this power in calm and serene confidence with perfect trust and faith. I know that this power is good, it is constructive, it is activated by love, it is directed by divine intelligence, and I use it even in the simplest things in my life. Today, then, I accept that all the power there is belongs to me. In joy and in gladness, I recognize and use this power. Therefore, today, I am sustained and upheld by it in peace, in joy, and in wholeness. Okay. I have to admit that one of the things that I would like is to know where these particular readings came from. Like, to give them a little bit more of a context. I'm taking From Whence We Came from Reverend Jesse on Saturday mornings, which I thought to ask yesterday. We're not having class on Saturday because it's the 4th of July. So, and he starts out, the first paragraph reminds me of the readings that we're doing in Emma, because right now we're reading there are 4 words in the title and I'm gonna get them backwards, but the Emma, the mental practice, Christian scientific mental practice, those are the 4 words, but I probably have them all mixed up, so sorry about that. And Emma is a big believer, Emma Curtis Hopkins is a big believer in truth and logic and reasoning. And so that seems to be kind of what's happening here. Is the first paragraph is making the argument for why, and then the second paragraph are your power statements. Because of this is so. It reminds me very much of reading Emma. Which is probably because I'm reading Emma right now. Which, I mean, she has always blown my hair back, but I think this is my 3rd time through reading her in particular, and every time I just get a little bit more. And I'm sure that this is going to be the same thing. So if I go back and do this again next year, it'll be the same thing. I'll get something completely different. And the interesting thing is I will have a video record to go back and look at. So, this is a benefit of doing this. Do it for yourself. Read it to yourself, talk about it to yourself, and then a year later go back and watch the video. And say, and do it again and say, oh, this is what I'm getting. Okay, so let's break it down. The Bible tells us that the powers that be are ordained by God. And honestly, like I said, I really want context of that. Outside of the fact that if all there is, and that's exactly what he says in the next line, since God exists everywhere, the power of God is wherever we recognize it. The power of God is everywhere. But it's going to be a more powerful source when we recognize that it is a power of God. All of the powers that you use are powers of God. They come from God through you. The saying is God can only do for you what God can do through you. So he follows it up by saying not only all the presence, but all the power. Since God exists everywhere, the power of God is everywhere we recognize it. The presence of God is wherever we recognize it. So all of the power, all of the presence, it's constantly around us. We're not always conscious of it. And so that's where we go back to that conscious of it. We have to be conscious of it. If we want to use this power, we have to be conscious of it. And we have to use it consciously. It's when we use it unconsciously that things come out sideways. Okay, so we have no power of ourselves as if we were separate entities. And that's where it comes back to willpower. Thy will be done. It's not my will, but God's will. God's will flowing through me. Which is scary because we're not big on surrendering our will, but we're not surrendering to a vengeful accountant in the sky. We are surrendering to allow the power to flow through us from a power that created us, that wants us to be happy, to joyfully express ourselves. And that's a point that needs to be made, because many of us were taught this idea of God, and the idea of surrendering to that God is just terrifying. That's not who God is. And when we recognize that it is a creative expression through us that truly wants us to live our fullest life, it's a whole lot easier to surrender to that power. Okay. we say with the psalmist that our strength cometh from the Lord who has made heaven and earth. The mind that made the stars thought you were a good idea. What we really do is use a power greater than ourselves, which power is our strength, but we are not that power. So the power comes through us, not from us. I'm sorry. I find that sentence awkward. Me personally. But to me, that's what it's saying. The power comes through us, not from us. But that also means that there are times when we feel like we need more power than we have. Well, the good news is since we're not using our power, all we have to do is plug in and we're using an inexhaustible supply. Okay. Which is exactly what he says next. Of ourselves we can do nothing, nor of ourselves do we even hold our bodies in place. Okay? And then he talks about gravity. Rather, we rely on the power of gravitational force that operates upon us. Okay. In just such a manner, we are operated upon by spiritual powers that become our strength when we use them. We are completely and totally unaware of gravity because it happens. It is a natural phenomenon, and Ernest would argue a power of God, in which we live and move and have our being. I mean, at no time, unless you've been to space, and I have not, outside of dreams, we are built to work, to live and move and have our being in this gravitational force. That's the same thing of the power of God. So any kind of power of God, you are built to use it as unconsciously as we live and move and have our being in gravity. Or consciously use it, because we will get much better results when we consciously use it. Just like when we consciously use gravity, because, we fly. We have learned how to use gravity. So we can learn to do this. We have done amazing. We've learned to get out of gravity. Well, even the space station still technically uses gravity to stay in orbit. Okay. It's just figured out how far away it has to be to stay in orbit, not get pulled back to the Earth. Interesting. I would love to know what Ernest thinks about the space station and going into space and all of that. He would think it was wonderful. Okay. I've gotten completely off track. It is in this sense that we are strong with the power of God, the only power there is. Okay. My strength cometh from the Lord who has made heaven and earth. Recognizing this strength, which is perfect, complete, and ever present with me, I have implicit trust and confidence, not only in its availability right where I am, but in its action in and through everything I am doing. So now I'm doing the power statements. I am claiming what is mine. My strength comes from the Lord, the creative power that made heaven and earth. I recognize this strength, and I recognize it is perfect, complete, and ever present with me, and I have implicit trust and confidence that it is available right now, and that it is in action in everything that I am doing. I am claiming it now. There is a power behind my every thought and word. There's a power behind my every thought and word. So that is one of the reasons why they say guard your thoughts. But in Science of Mind we teach, yes, there is power behind every thought, but watch where the emotion goes. Because the more emotion you put behind a thought, behind your word, the more power you're putting behind it. So every thought isn't going to manifest. But those thoughts with a lot of emotion, those are the ones that are most likely to manifest, positive or negative. Watch where your power goes. There is a power upholding and sustaining me in everything I do. I mean, really? There is a power upholding and sustaining me in everything I do. I mean, that's one to write on the mirror. There is a power going before me and preparing my way. So if you are planning something, that's a good one to use. I rest in this power in calm and serene confidence, with perfect trust and faith. So I know at the center of my being that this power is available to me and that I have the right to use it. And I trust that I can. I trust that I have the ability. I trust that I have the ability, and I trust that it is available to me. All right. I know that this power is good. It is constructive. It is activated by love. It is directed by divine intelligence. And I use it even in the simplest things in my life. I have had people come, especially like prac students. They come because they're required to do a prac treatment. They're required to meet with a different practitioner every semester. And so they'll come and they're like, but I don't need anything. Everything's good. And I'm like, great. Then let's treat for more of that. So I can use it even in the simplest things. I can use that power when I'm good. I don't have to just go to the power when things aren't good. Use it when things are good. Use it to make things better. Because when it's better for you, it's better for everybody. All right. Today, then, I accept that all the power there is belongs to me. In joy and in gladness, I recognize and use this power. There's no better way to use the power of God than in joy and gladness. Gratitude. Because if you are doing it in gratitude and in love, you will do it right. Therefore, today I am sustained and upheld by it in peace and joy and in wholeness. So your mission, should you choose to accept it today, is to recognize where the power comes from and recognize that you have the right and the ability to use it even in the simplest tasks in your life. Okay, beloveds, it is Thursday. I am going to move on with my day. And as I say every day, do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. Have a fantastic day. Do something to get yourself some fresh air, some fresh perspective. Get your move on, get your groove on. Go for a walk, go for a run, dance, skip, hop, whatever makes you happy. All right? And know that you are loved. Bye, beloveds.